Hey guys, Virtus here and welcome back to my series on creating a survival horror game inside of Unreal Engine 4. So if you haven't watched the previous videos, I advise that you go ahead and do so, clicking the thumbnails in the top left hand corner. Also, if you haven't seen the Unreal Engine 4 beginner tutorial series, I also advise you go ahead and check that out, as it will help you easily follow along and understand. Anyway, in the past few videos we've been working on this game and we created a basic hunger system. And we've got some variables that go down, and when it gets down to 0, the player dies. We've got some simple little pickups, and what I want to do today is essentially take it one step further and pretty much start working on our heads up display and get our hunger system displayed on the screen. So if you take a look at this Photoshop document of mine, you can see I've started working on a heads up display, and this is going to show a variety of things. So it's going to show me my hunger, my stamina, and I've got cool little progress bars for that. I've also got a little objectives section, but I'm not going to be doing that just yet. That's going to be for later on in the series. Anyway, what I'm going to be doing is showing you how to display your heads up display on the screen, move all of the stuff over from Photoshop, and get it into the game pretty much. And then we're also going to be adding the functionality. It may be in today's episode or the next one. It depends on how quickly we can do it. Anyway, so one thing I want to mention before we go any further is I'm going to be linking the first version of the HUD, this version of the HUD, in the description in a Photoshop document and as any files that I decide to export. So that's going to be the images for the progress bar, the text, and so on. So let's go ahead and set up the Unreal Engine 4 side of things first. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my third person character. And I'm pretty much just going to create a widget from here and display it onto the screen. So normally I would put it into my HUD class, but I'm having a bit of a few problems with that. So what I'm going to have to do is just chuck it into the third person character. I will show you how to move it over once I fix the problem. But for now, let's go ahead and just set a few things up. So the first thing I'm going to do is add a begin play event. So it's going to essentially put the heads up display on the screen as soon as the player loads the level and begins to play. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the create widget node to create the widget, to pretty much put it onto the engine, and then we've also got to add it to the viewport, just like that. So what we need to do now is select a class for the widget for the heads up display. So we need to actually go ahead and create one of those. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new blueprint class, and I'm just going to type in widget. So widget, and then just create yourself a user widget, press select, and I'm just going to call this survival HUD widget. And inside of this HUD widget, we're going to be able to easily design and import all of our assets for our heads up display and get it into the game. So also, one little thing that I wanted to do before we actually go any further is I've had a request to actually destroy the little pickup items once you touch them. It's really simple to do, so I'm just going to quickly show you how to do that. So basically now you won't have, unlimited pickups for food. It just destroys itself when you first touch it after you've got the health from it. So you just add a destroy actor at the end of the little sequence that we made in the last video, and I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for both of those. So hold up and drag it. Okay, and my engine's crashed for whatever reason. Okay, there we go, all good. So once again, just destroy actor just at the end of the sequence. It's as simple as that. If you wanted to, you could then go and spawn emitters, spawn sound effects, and so on. But for now, I'm just going to leave it how it is. Anyway, back to my thing over here. So I'm going to get my survival HUD widget, and I'm just going to hook it up to the class just like that. And I'm going to press compile, and hopefully now whatever is in our survival HUD widget will be displayed on the screen. We haven't actually got anything in there just yet, so there's nothing displayed on the screen. If I open up that widget, and if we were just to put a simple little text block in there and press play again, it should now be displayed on the screen. And you can see we've got text block there. So the next step of what we need to do is start bringing our images over from Photoshop and bring it into our little HUD widget here. So I'm going to get rid of this, I'm going to add 2 pieces of text to start with. So I'm going to have my text for stamina and hunger. So first one here, I'm going to type in hunger, and the second one I'm going to set as stamina. There you are. And now we need to, hold up, and now we need to actually get the images over. So to do that, open up the Photoshop document, or if you haven't got Photoshop, just work with the files that I export out. The links will be in the description. So what I need to do is essentially just change all of this little section from my progress bar into a single image. So the way I'm going to do that inside of Photoshop is to make sure I've got the right progress bar. I'm going to select the layer and anything else that's attached. So you can see I've got this little line here. I'm just going to merge those for now, and I am going to get the selection tool, and I'm going to make sure I select all of the bar, press Ctrl C. I'm going to create a new document, and hopefully by default it should get the width and the height of whatever you've selected. So 295 by 49 looks about right for this. I'm going to press OK, and I'm just going to go ahead and chuck it in there. And I'm just going to delete the background layer, and I'm going to make sure that I export this out as a PNG. And also, I advise that you double check all of your elements have followed through into this. And I'm just going to call this hunger bar normal. There we are, and it's as simple as that. Now that we've done that, we can actually start bringing it into the engine. So first things first, I'm going to set up a folder for all of my HUD assets. So I'm just going to create a new folder here, and I am going to type in, I'm just going to call it HUD assets. I'm going to go ahead and open that up, and now I'm going to find the file that we just exported out. Now, one thing I do want to mention, and I can't stress enough, is that you need to make sure that it is exported out as either a PNG or a Targa. And the reason I use PNG, because it will add all of the translucency and transparent stuff by default, whereas something like a Targa, it might not do that, or JPEG definitely won't do that. So yeah, just make sure it's all PNGs for your HUD assets. So we've got that in there now. I'm going to quickly save that, and we can actually start bringing this into our widget. So I'm going to open this up. Let's make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to add in an image. And not an image, we need it to be a progress bar. So we're going to drag in a progress bar, and then style, we can set the background image to the one that we just created, and there we are, and we can just drag it into place just like that, and it's starting to look quite nice. And if we press play, you can now see that we've got that progress bar in the top left hand corner. It looks a little bit small, so you might want to make that a little bit bigger. It's quite easy to do, just drag it out, and make sure you do the same thing for the text as well. You can't just scale the text like that. Instead, you actually have to go to the content, and then go to appearance, and then just make it a little bit bigger, just like that. I'm going to set that to 45 for now. I'm going to make sure I drag this out. Now, because we actually want it to stay in the top left hand corner, I am just going to anchor it that way. That way it won't go floating about. I'm just going to anchor it to the top left, and I'm going to do the same for the anchor text, just like that. And I'm also going to make sure I change this, the text for the stamina to 45 as well. So if we go ahead and press compile now, press play, you can see it's working out quite nice. We've now got our little bars. Might be a bit too big, but we can adjust that later on. Actually, I'll go ahead and do this now, so I'm going to change this to 30. And 30, and I'm just going to scale down my bar a little bit, and I'm going to place it in just like this. So hopefully it should look a little bit better now. So if we press play, we've got our bar, we've got our text, and it's looking quite nice. And once again, I've got to do the same thing for the stamina bar. Now, the stamina bar I'm going to have to set up in another tutorial in terms of functionality once we've actually got a sprint system in place. But for now, let's just go ahead and do this. So I'm going to make sure I've got the right 2 layers again. I'm going to select both of those, Control C, get a new document, 295 by whatever. Ooh, okay, so it didn't copy and paste that properly by the looks of things. So have I got the right bar? Yep. Control C. Make sure I get the right stuff, and it's still coming out a little bit weird for some reason. So by the looks of things, if I just drag this over, I'm going to get rid of this layer, and I'm just going to chuck it in here, just like that. And I'm also going to drag the line in. If you do have any problems, you can just manually move all the layers over. So I'm going to move this over here, and I'm also going to move this in here, just like that. Once again, I'm going to delete the background layer, press File, Save, and I'm going to export it out as a PNG to ensure that I get the transparency. And I'm going to call this Stamina Bar Normal. Just like that. And once again, we can proceed to importing it into the engine. So you just drag and drop it, just like that, and it works perfectly. And we're going to add in a second progress bar for stamina, and we're just going to scale it up in the same way that we did before. So what I'm going to do here to make them look the same is I'm just going to copy the values for X and Y. So I'm going to copy that value over and this value over, so X and Y. And now they should be the same size. So the next thing that we need to check is whether or not they actually scale well when we actually change the progress. So if I change the progress up and down, you can see it's adding the blue. So what we actually need to do is essentially get a grayscale, not a grayscale, but like a black version of this where we just fade it out, and then we get a second one where we fill it up with a little bit of color. So what I'm going to do is pretty much just change the fill image. So if we go ahead and grab this, if we go and get the fill image, we're going to do that, and it will start filling it up, just doubling basically what it's got, and it looks quite nice. Like I said though, what you should probably do is just get a lighter version of the first one. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to open this up, and I'm just going to go to blending options. I'm going to go to opacity. I'm just going to change the opacity to something like 50, and I'm going to export it out as PNG again. So hunger bar empty, and I'm going to save it just like that. So now if we import that into the engine, hunger bar empty. Ooh, okay, so I've got to go to my content browser. Okay, and open this up again, wherever it is. So this is going to be the, not the fill, fill that one there, and then normal is going to be in here. So now when I progress it, you can see it sort of starts to fill up, and it looks quite nice. Now if you wanted to, you can play around with these images and do whatever you want, but for now I'm just going to leave it like this. It seems to look okay, and obviously I'm going to have to do the same thing for the stamina bar. So once again, I am going to just get these two, going to merge them together, and I'm going to turn down the opacity just like this. So opacity 50%, file, save as, PNG, and stamina bar empty. And we're going to import that into the engine the same way we have done for all the other stuff. Stamina bar empty, and hopefully now that we get that in, so stamina bar, no, background image should be the empty one, because the fill image is actually going to go on top of the other one. So stamina bar normal, and hopefully these should progress quite well now, so you can see it fills up and looks really quite nice. Anyway, so we've got pretty much the looks of our heads-up display. The colors are a little bit distorted, but we can actually go over that a little bit later on. But I'm going to wrap this video up here for now, and we're actually going to be working on the functionality in the next video. So what I'm going to show you how to do is pretty much bind the progress to the value for your hunger system. It's quite simple, but anyway, thanks for watching, comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.